When you're there at the bottom, it feels like as soon as you rise on the top, or as they say, become the ultra successful, you are never going to down again. Once you build a successful company or make the series of the absolutely profitable investments, even in a few $1 million can set you on the path to be financially free for the rest of your life. But a few $100 million should not only provide you with the luxurious life for your remaining days theirs on earth, but also to your children and grandchildren. But there is another segment into your society that can afford everything they want. Their wealth exceeds the wealth of some nations. Jeff Bezos has much wealth as the Greece's current GDP. Billionaires are in the best period of the time in history. The average billionaire has net worth of $4.1 billion. Given the market average, if they would receive the 8% return in their wealth, a typical billionaire can earn over $329 million a year, enough cash to provide anything with the super luxury life. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's as difficult to manage so much money as it's get to the first place. Some people manage to become billionaires but couldn't maintain it to the point where they had to sell all of their assets to fill the bankruptcy. Today we are going to explore 5 billionaires who are now officially broke. Number 1, Bernard Madoff. He started brokerage firm back in the 1960s and grew it into one of the largest investment firms. At one point, Madoff Securities wasn't a large market maker at the Nasdaq, and in 2008 was the sixth largest market maker on the Wall Street. The company went to provide a different kind of financial services. At his peak, Madoff had the net worth over $17 billion until people figured out that it was all a scam. It was the largest Ponzi scheme in the world history and the largest financial fraud in the history of the US. He would attract investments by paying great profits to entirely investors with funds from more received investors. No one could resist such profits and ended up investing billions into his firm. On December 10, 2008, Madoff's sons told authorities that their fathers had confessed to them that the asset management unit of his firm was a massive Ponzi scheme, and to quote him as the saying that it was one big lie. The following day, FBI agents arrested Madoff and charged him with the fraud. The SAS had previously conducted multiple investings into the business's practice, but had to uncover the massive fraud. In March 2009, Madoff pleaded guilty to 11 federal felonies and administrated to turn his wealth management businesses into the massive Ponzi scheme. He defrauded thousands of investors. The amount missing from his client's account was almost 65 billion. Madoff ended up sentenced 150 years in prisons. Elizabeth Holmes, this woman was named the next Steve Jobs. Way before Elon Musk was so popular as he is today, she founded their reasons and claimed on that revolutionary blood testings by developing test method that could use surprisingly small blood volume, which as form of the fingerprints. Holmes raised $6 million to fund the firm, but at the end of the 2010, Theranos had more than 92 million in the venture capital. She was the real deal. In 2014, she appeared on the cover of the Fortune, Forbes, the New York Times. Forbes recognized Holmes as the world's youngest self-made female billionaire and ranked her 110 in the Forbes 400 in the 2014. The Renault was valued at the 9 billion and had raised more than the 400 million in the venture capital. She was everywhere, giving a speech alongside other billionaires such as Jack Ma to inspire others, but that was probably the peak of her career. 2015, the series of the journalism and investigators revealed doubts about technology claims and that Holmes had misled investors at the government. In 2018, the SAS charged Holmes with the deceiving investors by the massive fraud throughout false or exaggerated claims about the accuracy of the company's blood testing technology. Holmes settles the charge by paying the $500,000 fee, returning 18 0.9 million shares to the company requirements her voting control of Terranos and being burdened from serving as the officer or director of the public company for 10 years. Despite having raised more than 700 million from investors, the company is now on the verge of bankruptcy. The Forbes estimated her net worth at $0. Jacery Wildness. You probably know here for here extensive cosmetics surgery that ended up in her cat-like appearance, but for some reasons she even denies having plastic surgery. Now, what we want to know through she didn't came up with the brilliant idea to become the super wealthy. She took a different path. She married Alec Wildness, who was a billionaire but not self-made. When his father passed away in 2001, he inherited half of his father's business empire that estimated to worth 10 billions. Seems like an easy way to become a billionaire, not really. In the 1999, his wife Jocelyn Wildstein divorced him and received $2.5 billion in hers settlements and 100 million each year for the following 13 years. But you know what happens when you don't earn your billions with your blood and sweat? You waste it faster than you get it. She was known for her extravagant lifestyles. Her telephone bill alone was 60,000 a year. She used to spend food and wine 500,000 annually. She spent money like there is no tomorrow, but when tomorrow came in knocking, she realized that she had more debt that she can possibly cover and ended up filing for the bankruptcy in 2018. Aaron Stanford first started a bodybuilding gym that failed. His first success in businesses came from the speculating in the real estate in the Houston after the Texas oil bubble burst in the early 1980s. He made a fortune buying up depressed real estate and selling it years later as the market recovered. But that wasn't enough for him. He wanted more and went to found Stanford Financial Group. He got into the banking the industry because was booming. His net worth reached $2.2 billion at its peaks because he continuously delivered higher returns to his investors than the market's average, which made his businesses look a bit more suspicious. When the pricing to investors, he presented hypothetical investments result as the actual historical data in scales pitches to clients and claimed his certificates of deposit were as safe as or safe than U.S. government bonds, but it was leaked later on that companies under Stanford's control were remote to engage in bribery. money laundering, and political manipulations. Seems that was alien Stanford meant by the safe investments. So in 2009, Stanford became the subject of the several fraud investigations and was charged with fraud. His billion-dollar idea got him 110 years statement prisons, which he is still serving. Eike Batisia. This man, once upon a time, was the seventh richest person in the entire world. Yes, you heard it right. He was one of the few richest people in the entire planet. The question is that I want to know, an answer is how do you go from the being world seventh richest human on the being broke? Here is the recipe in the 1980s. Batista created put into operation 8 gold mines in Brazil and Canada, a silver mine in Chile, and 3 iron ore miners in the Brazil. From 2004 to 2010, Batista built 5 companies, each functioning on different parts of the production, from mining to logistics, and things took off in the beginning. 2011, Batista was listed the richest person in Brazil and the most powerful person in the country, placing him Brazil's most powerful person after the Brazil's 10 presidents. Um, In early 2012, Batista had a net worth of 35 billion. Just when it seems he is going to be on top of the forever, things turned south. As of 2013, due to the falling commodity prices, none of his experiment enterprises were profitable despite the substantial infusions of the cash by the Brazilian government, and Batista was engaged in the desperate effort to shed assets and meet the demands of creditors, which bankrupted his companies 2014. He was officially broke. He holds the record for the having been the fastest destroyed of the wealth. He deserved it. Come on, from the $35 billion to zero. I didn't know if that's humanly possible. Journal of the Godmostron. Joghoff was Iceland's second businessman who more than the $1 billion. At one time, he was the majority owner of the chairman of the now nationalized Icelandic bank, Landsbanki. The second largest company in the Iceland were ranked by the Forbes magazines in the March 2008 as the 1014th richest person in the world, but the net worth was of 1.1 billion. He started multiple businesses, including the beverages businesses in the St. Petersburg back in 1991. Well, his biggest move was when he gained a 45% control in shares of the Landsbanki, which is that made him the billionaire. But he miscalculated his moves and didn't see the banking crisis that were on the horizon in 2008. The industry collapsed and destroyed the entire economy of Iceland. His debts rose to over $1.2 billion, so he had to file for bankruptcy. Forbes estimated his net worth today at zero. And lastly, Patricia Kluge. It's another woman who found her way to the billionaire club throughout her marriage. She married John Kluge, who was one of the richest men in the entire country. She married to work it out until his wife found out that she can earn billions if she files for the divorce. So they divorced in the 1990s, leaving her one of the national richest divorces, according to Forbes, with assets including the Grand um, Albemarle estate of Virginia, which had estimated value of around $1 billion back then. And that's the problems when you become the billionaire throughout the divorce. You know nothing about the businesses. Your either screw everything on your own, or somewhere around you would fall and rip you off. She thought she could turn it into a profitable venture, but she was dead wrong. So she couldn't maintain her luxurious life and ended up selling furniture and jewelry at auction in the bid to avoid bankruptcy. But it didn't work. Here is your list of the billionaires who were on the top of the world and couldn't afford anything their hearts desire, but ended up broke, bankrupt, and couldn't even pay for the rent. So if you are thinking of the becoming a billionaire, here's the important lessons. Be honest and don't build it by the scamming people or ripping off someone's wealth just because you were married to them. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and if you did, give this thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and until next time.